I didn't leave the house. Mr. Acevedo actually locked me out of the house
And why
and did
did
not
he
allow
do
me to get anything, did not allow anything like that.
that? Okay. And why did that happen? Just because he wanted to do it?
Because he was upset.
And why was he upset?
I couldn't tell you why he was upset.
Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
This is a monster of a court case here today, and I am absolutely here for it. Title of today's video, The Genius Dad Who Protected His Money from His Greedy, Cheating Ex-Wife. Brief details regarding the case, because it's a long one, yet well worth it. A divorce happened between the couple 3 years ago, and within that, 50-50 custody was decided, but get this, with no child support. Crazy, right? More on this man's gangster lawyer here in a quick second. Now, the children in question, their ages are 14, 12, and 10. The divorce was 3 years ago, yet the cheating ex-wife is filing a petition for support because she's choosing not to work, she's choosing to go to school, and now wants her ex-husband to pay, even though she has a new husband. Let's get extremely active on this one because it's gonna get crazy. Without further ado, this entire video is a masterclass of not only of how to devastate your ex-wife financially, but also why you should prioritize a fantastic lawyer.
With all that, let me start with Ms. Coates. Go ahead and start your opening statement, since you're the ones that filed this action, followed by Mr. Mangin's opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. So we believe at this time, when we originally filed this, that there was a change, Your Honor. However, based on Ms. Chester's, we believe testimony is going to state that they're still doing their 1 week on and 1 week off. And however, she asked us to file because at the time of the filing, they were no longer doing that. But now it is my understanding, and again, we'll get this out in testimony, that they are still doing 1 week on and 1 week off. And this was put into their final divorce decree, which they're trying to modify, the final divorce decree. In the final divorce decree, there is no child support set based on this fact that they're doing 1 week on and 1 week off. That is considered deviation. And based on the testimony that if they are still doing 1 week on and 1 week off, then the rule, the Texas Family Code of the 3 years or the 10% no longer applies, but in fact that there has to be a substantial and material change. And aside from the possibly they're no longer continuing it, or they are, there's no other changes that I'm aware of, this office is aware of, that would qualify as a substantial and material change at this time.
So essentially, the entire reason that we're here today is that the ex-wife wants to change the divorce decree to get child support. And of course she does. This harpy wants the bag. Let's go.
And did I understand they're modifying the divorce decree, or did I?
Yes, they're trying to, we're trying to modify the divorce decree to set child support. Based on at the time of the filing, we were told that they weren't following the possession schedule anymore. So yeah.
So I followed all that. I was just not sure if they had an independent action over there with the district courts, but that's not what you're saying. This is the action they have here through your agency, Ms. Coates.
Yes. We're trying to modify the divorce decree that was signed January 8, 2021.
Okay, I get it. There's nothing else pending. Thank you. Mr. Mangin, any opening statements, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, just a short one. My client's contention is the same as the state's. The child custody has not changed. It may have for a time under circumstances, but right now it's still 1 week on, 1 week off. Mr. Acevedo is, and it's one of the reasons I had the monthly expense statement, because he, in the 3 years since the divorce, he has a well-established budget in taking care of the home for the children as well as the children. And so right now, what he has left over is not very much money. So we contend that since nothing's changed materially as to the custody of the children in that situation, that the child support would be inappropriate at this time.
50-50 custody? No child support. That sounds like the way that all of these cases should be handled. But unfortunately, they aren't. But this guy's gangster lawyer was able to secure that for him. Nevertheless, let's listen to the self-homewrecker described why she's asking for support.
Okay, I'll hear details, I'm sure, through the testimony. And also, Ms. Chester, since you're here without a lawyer, you still have the capacity of representing yourself. What I do, though, is instead of letting you make an opening statement right now to tell me what you think should happen, then you're still gonna, under oath, tell me as testimony what you think should happen instead of doing it twice. I just go straight to the chase, let the AG call you, and so you can tell me one time under oath what you want. Okay, Ms. Coates, I'll let you start calling witnesses.
Miss Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many children do you have with Mr.
We have 3.
And are they all under the age of 18?
Correct.
Now, looks like we filed this back in September 29, 2023. You had asked for our help, is that correct?
It had actually been filed previously before that. I don't know. I know it was like 2 years prior, but I had never heard anything from it. So that's when I had called back and they had showed me how to properly file. But yes, correct.
Okay. So my understanding is that you are asking for child support because there was a change in the visitation.
So the thing that was listed on there was, I know we were getting more time with the kids at the time. It was only like a day, but then we would go back and forth the same. The reason for the request for the modification was the fact that I did get let go from my job because of the school schedule for the kids. So being that I do live so far away from the kids to school, they had to let me go because I was doing drop off and pick up and just waiting there in the line. So I did have to be fired from my job. So that was the reason why I had asked for some assistance.
Okay. So the visits had never changed. So you were still doing 1 week on and 1 week off.
So we were getting the kids, me and my husband were getting the kids an extra day. And so they would add up, but I couldn't tell you how many days they added up. And then it went back to being the same.
Why were you getting the kids an extra day?
There was just like stuff that was going on. I believe there was like sickness. I don't know. I don't remember which individual it was, but it was like a few days here and there.
So
But
were
the
these
reason
extra days?
Modification was not for the visitations. It was more because of the financial, because I did lose my job.
Okay, so the extra days weren't because Mr. Acevedo didn't want to see his children or take care of his children. It was just something came up.
Yeah, there were things that came up.
Okay. And does he get them extra days sometimes?
Not during that time, no.
So at this time, are you currently employed?
No, I am a full-time student. I do take 6 classes. So while the kids are in school, I am a full-time student.
Man, with all due respect, your circumstances changed. You got fired. That shouldn't impact him. If a man lost their job, the judge would say, tough damn luck. Y'all fought for equality. Well, this is what equality is.
Are you still married?
Yes.
Does your husband work?
Yes, he does.
What does he do?
He is an iron worker.
She's remarried.
And you
What
don't
a
do like
loser.
part-time jobs like Uber,
Right.
DoorDash,
Something.
No, ma'am.
You got 3 kids, sucker.
Taking a full schedule, and I also do take night class to kind of like interfere because I have to pick up the kids. I have to meet. I do take a night class as well. So with 6 classes, studying and taking the kids to their appointments and stuff like that, it's very hard.
That's not his
How
problem.
close?
Time job.
How close are you to graduating?
I still have 3 years.
And you can't do part-time schooling?
Part-time schooling, no.
Yes, you can.
Because
You
every time I try
liar.
to look for a job, everybody's like, well, you have to either be here early in the morning or you have to be here like really late. And my husband's commute, it would leave the children unattended.
And have you talked to Mr. Acevedo about maybe taking them extra in that case?
We have not.
She just wanted the money.
And then your schooling doesn't offer online classes?
They offer only certain online classes, but they're not with the degree plan that I have. There's very rare classes that they do offer online. They're more for like freshman and sophomore classes. And it's more like, because the school wants to be small, it's more for that. Because we do engage a lot with our professors.
And what is your, what are you getting a degree in?
I'm getting a degree in criminal justice and theology.
What is this?
And I understand whether it may be Mr. Acevedo or maybe someone else in his family that you don't want to have your phone number and address. Is that correct?
I know that it's already listed on there, but correct.
But if you were to change your information, you wouldn't want someone to have that. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this loser got fired from her job. And we're going to find out here in a quick second why I'm calling her a loser on top of this, but got fired for her job, not making any money, already remarried, doesn't want to negotiate on less time with the children so that she could supplement with a job. But get this, her degrees are in shit that she will not make money in. Criminal justice and theology. Let's proceed.
And who would that be?
Mr. Acevedo. There is, like, through the parent app, there is a way where the number is not shown at all, and stuff like that. I do understand with the address, you know, it being there, but that was strictly because of the fact that before we were having issues with that.
And can you explain why you don't, okay, so I see that app close was already ordered in the divorce decree. Why you're asking that if you were to change your phone number or your address, you don't want him to have it?
Why was it asked?
No, why would you want to, why are you asking now if you were to change your information?
I had asked that before and it was denied.
Okay. Can you explain why?
No, there was, our divorce went through Zoom. There wasn't a lot of during
Ms.
COVID.
Chester,
was
why
it?
are you asking for protection against Mr. Acevedo from him having your information?
Because there was a domestic violence when we were married.
How long ago was that?
When we were married,
When was the
That-
last time he was physically abusive?
it was Peyton was about 5 or 6, so the year would have been about 2016. There was a police report about it, but I don't have it with me. But there was that one that was made that day.
Okay. So between the divorce and now, has he been threatening you or harassing you or has placed his hands on you or your husband?
He has not placed his hands on me. He has made comments to the children, but he has never placed. For pickup, me and my husband do designate. He's the one that goes and picks up the kids. So I don't pick up the kids. Usually we have it safe where it's like we pick up the kids at school. We're not really interacting at all, or my husband will go and get the kids.
Okay. So what kind of comments is he making towards the children?
Towards the children, he just talks about like not liking anybody, that they wish they weren't there, like stuff like that.
Wishing who wasn't there?
Wishing my husband wasn't there.
Okay. All right. Anything else the judge should know that I haven't asked you?
No.
All right. Your Honor, no further questions. Just reserve the right to recall if necessary.
So this man has not been in an alleged conflict since 10 years ago, but you still bring it up in this court case, probably more so to continue to tarnish his reputation rather than being actually concerned regarding your well-being. By the way, telling the court that he said something about you to the kids without any substantial evidence is a wild work. Now let's watch while the lawyer, my guy, comes in and completely dismantles her.
Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Mangine, do you have any cross-exam?
Yes, I have a few, Your Honor. Miss Chesser, when we got this divorce done 3 years ago, you were employed at that time, were you not?
Correct.
And where were you employed at?
I was employed for the state of Maryland. I was doing their unemployment,
For the
and it
state?
was online. Zoom. It was online.
And
She got fired from an online state job. What? Something tells me that there's much more to the story than that bullshit that she said earlier. Let's go.
how much were you being paid to do that job?
I was getting about $20 an hour when I left. So I started at 19 and then I got a dollar raise. So I was at 20.
And how many hours did you work per month?
I was at 45
Per
hours.
month?
I mean, not per month, that was per week, sorry. So I was doing full-time, 45, give or take, times 4.
So you're saying you were doing like 40, 45 hours a week,
Correct.
and you were doing that online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And since you were working online, what were your alleged hours?
I was working from 6:45 to 2:45.
Okay. And you say because you had to take the children to school or pick them up, that caused you to be fired?
Correct.
Okay. And did they monitor you when you were online doing this work?
Correct.
Okay. Now, since they fired you and you decided to go back to school, and you have already testified that there's no reasonable, in your opinion, no reasonable part-time job you could have to supplement your income.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. And you also claim that Mr. Acevedo, you want sort of protection against him because of an incident that happened some years before that we got the divorce. And isn't it true that that incident arose out of the fact that you had voluntarily left the house, abandoned your husband and your children for a period of time, and then suddenly tried to come back and get into the house, which caused the problem? Isn't that?
That is incorrect.
And what is correct?
So I was not locked out of the house. I was actually forced out of the house. There was a police officer that came and did make a report that day.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm not talking about what happened when the police officer came. I'm talking about what caused the incident to occur to begin with. Had you voluntarily?
So that incident that did occur, that had nothing to do with, we were already separated for 2 years, it might have been. And the incident happened because I was a minute late dropping off our daughter. It was her birthday. I had picked her up and I took her somewhere to go and eat, and I was a minute late and he got upset about that.
Wow.
Okay, when you left the house, how did you leave? You're trying to tell me that Mr. Acevedo forced you to leave the house?
Correct.
And why did he do that?
That was not the same incident that we're speaking of. So when I did,
No, I'm not speaking about the same incident. I'm saying when you left the house, whether it was
Originally.
2 years before, 2 years after, why did you leave?
I didn't leave the house. Mr. Acevedo actually locked me out of the house
And why
and did not
he
allow
do
me to get anything, did not allow anything like that.
that? Okay. And why did that happen? Just because he wanted to do it?
Because he was upset.
And why was he upset?
I couldn't tell you why he was upset.
Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
Were you having an adulterous relationship?
I was not.
You were not.
No, I was not.
What sane man would just get up one day and just decide to change all the locks on the doors and not give the mother to his children the key to those locks? Things are about to get way worse. Let's keep watching.
I see. And so now, Mr. Acevedo and you have been involved with a 50-50 sharing of child custody. And Mr. Acevedo makes sufficient money to support these children much better than you. And he is now got a budget that really doesn't leave him any spare money. And now you think it's fair that you should be able to come in here because you lost your job, whether it was because of the kids going to school, which we have to take your word for, or not. And now you think it's fair that he should somehow give you money to help you support these kids.
Well, it was actually requested before everything was filed. So, and it was
Well,
just never talked
Are
about.
you saying with the divorce?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying it was filed with the divorce?
Yes, it was filed with the divorce.
Yes, and we argued that at court, and you'll recall that we had a bench trial on that issue. We even had a amicus attorney to represent your children. And at the hearing, the amicus attorney recommended to the judge that we have a 50-50 custody and no child support. Do you recall that?
I do recall some of that, but I do also recall that when we did ask for documentation, as far as when she asked for the documentation to see what everybody was, if it was fair as far as income for the kids, I do remember that there was no information provided on the other party's end.
That's not true. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to have the trial.
Woo.
Secondly,
He's good.
the amicus attorney did a full investigation, and I know because I paid her for her services. And she did a full investigation into everybody's income. She visited your home, Mr. Acevedo's home, on several occasions. And when she came to court and testified at the trial, she recommended no child support and 50-50 custody, which the court granted.
Whoa. He's good.
Isn't that true?
Her words were not anything to do with
Objection, Your Honor,
her
no
words.
responsive. Please
Okay.
answer.
You
Go
just
ahead.
have to answer the question, Ms. Chester. In a minute, you'll get to say whatever else you haven't been asked. But right now, you have to answer the lawyer's questions. Sustain.
Okay, repeat the question. I'm sorry.
The question was, the judge heard the testimony of all the parties, and the judge heard the testimony of the amicus attorney. And the amicus attorney, when we made closing arguments, stated that she believed that what the best interest of the children was a 50-50 custody and no child support. The judge took that recommendation along with the rest of the evidence, and she granted a final decree of divorce based on that custody issue. Is that correct?
I do recall that, yes, the amicus did state that.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, let me go next to you, Ms. Chester. Technically, you're your own lawyer, so you kind of get the stand and get to tell me whatever else you need to tell me that hasn't been asked, strictly related to the issues before the court. So anything else you want to say, ma'am?
Every cent that this man spent on this lawyer was absolutely well spent. Not only did he get 0 child support in the original divorce, but also he's clearly winning in this case right now, undermining the idea that her losing her job should make him pay the child support, while also reminding the court that there was a third party that determined what was best for the children. Also, while throwing in that she's an adulterer and her response to note that she was lying. But let's see what other excuses she's going to make to continue to avoid accountability.
I did write a little statement, if you would allow me to read it.
Well, that's your testimony. Is there any objection, Mr. Mangine? I assume not.
No, I'm not going to object. We
You
don't
give-
have a jury present, so it's.
Yeah, I'm going to give some latitude since she's not a lawyer and she's trying to get her testimony in. So yeah, you can read your statement.
I put, Your Honor, I am writing this letter to request support for my children. I'm a full-time student with previous work with a full-time work. Unfortunately, due to location of the children's school and difficulty of balancing work and school schedule, I was let go of my job to prioritize my children's education and well-being. As a full-time student, my time is divided between attending classes, studying, and taking care of my children. While I'm grateful for the opportunity to further my education, it also comes with a set of challenges, one of them being financial strain. I rely on scholarships, loans, and to cover most of my children's expenses. However, the source of income is not always sufficient to meet their needs. I have always been a responsible parent and have provided for my children for the best of my abilities. However, with the loss of my job, I am struggling to make ends meet and provide for my children's basic needs. I believe it is in the best interest of the children to receive child support from the other parent. Sincerely, Desiree Chester.
Okay, do you have anything else you want to say, ma'am?
I know that that we were discussing part-time jobs right now. My daughter is going through counseling, and I am going through counseling as well. It is a lot harder for me to try to find a part-time job with those schedules as well, because I am trying to balance that as well. So, but that's it.
Ms. Coates, do you have any follow-up of Ms. Chester?
No, Your Honor.
Any further examination, Mr. Maggi?
No, Your Honor.
Ma'am, again, it is your choice and only your choice to have decided to prioritize getting worthless degrees over getting a job to support your children. This man should not be held responsible for you. Y'all are not married anymore. And in fact, you've remarried. Why don't you ask your current husband to help pick up the slack as opposed to the man that you allegedly cheated on? But all right, let's hear from the judge.
Okay, here's where I come in. I think I heard that you filed for child support. One of the stated reasons might have been because you were no longer had 50-50, that you had more than 50 possession. Is that anywhere near the truth, ma'am?
That was only for a few days, but that wasn't what was written on there. The thing that was written on there was for the job. So
Okay.
when they called and asked me about it, they had said, well, is there any way that you have them not 50-50? And I was like, only like a few days, but it's not more like significant.
The nerve of you. Make them primary then.
Well, what I'm thinking is I can only modify if there's changed circumstances. You're telling me the changed circumstances, you don't have a job anymore. But I'm trying to figure out that the job you had when you were in court in the divorce and they ordered no child support, were you making at or near what Mr. Acevedo's making? Were you kind of on the same footing as him as income? Or,
Not at all.
and the court didn't order child support, even with your
No.
full-time job. Because it occurs to me, and Ms. Coates made the argument when we started, is that if he's got the 50-50 split still, and your changed circumstances is, okay, maybe you didn't lose the job voluntarily, or you didn't quit it, they fired you, you still have a duty to support your children. You get that, right? That both parents have the duty to support. But that you're choosing to now go get a college degree so you can't find a full-time job again to make you where you were before. It pains me to say, but if the shoes were reversed, I'd be saying the same thing. Is like, how is it fair that he supports you while you decide, or the children more,
It's not.
while you decide to go get a college degree for the future, when you got a duty support now, and not at his expense that you want to go get the degree? And I'd be telling him the same thing if he was here asking child support for you. You got 50-50 split. Why should she pay for you to go to school? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why that would be fair this way.
Okay. I just while we were
Fake tears.
while we were married, I was a homemaker, so he was the one that provided for us, and
Yeah.
I didn't do anything else.
Except I'm not giving you the divorce. I'm giving you, I'm looking
Yeah.
at the modification, whether you're entitled to it.
So I do remember that the Attorney General, when we did meet last time, they were like, well, your income, what it was before, was nowhere near what Mr. Acevedo was making. And when we had requested those documents, that my attorney at the time did not get the documents. And so I never knew what he was making. But the Attorney General had said last time that that he was making an substantial amount, more than 3 times what I was making. So they were like, well, why didn't they? quantify it then.
That was at the time of the divorce?
That was the time that we just met this last March. She had said that.
Okay, is there anything else you want to say, Ms. Chester?
Sheesh.
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll
Hmm.
move on. Ms. Coates, did you want to call Mr. Acevedo, or do you want defer to Mr. Menji?
The entitled greedy woman before us seems to forget that life is about choices and decisions. She chose to remarry. She chose to walk out on her family. She chose to go to school. She chose whatever action that led up to her getting fired from an online state job. Now you want the man that you harmed, who you're getting 50-50 custody from, to pay for your decisions in the future. This takes madness to an entirely new level, but let's listen to the man's side of the story.
Yes, I'll call Mr. Acevedo, please. Would you state your full name for the court, please?
Marco Adam Acevedo.
And in the 3 years that you've all been divorced, you've maintained a 50-50 custody relationship, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you provide, now, do you own a house?
Yes, sir.
And you make monthly payments on that house, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And can you tell the court what that monthly mortgage payment is?
It's 1,834, so 1,834 mortgage.
And when we had the divorce, just to clarify, Matt, when we had the divorce proceeding, which I have to tell the court was a rather lengthy pendency, okay? We did complete and full discovery in that matter, and we even did verified inventories. So it's very hard for me to accept at this time that she wasn't aware of his income. Now, maybe last March, when she attempted to go to the Attorney General, maybe that's true. I never got notice of that. But during the divorce, there was full discovery. Everything was disclosed. So each party knew what the other person had. So there was nothing amiss during that proceeding. Now, the other thing that I want to bring out is, let's talk about that incident. And I don't want to open a dirty wound and go on for hours, but could you briefly describe the reason that Miss Chester says that you locked her out of the house?
All right. Reason why is because the fact that she had committed adultery. She was basically living with another individual, had abandoned us, myself and the children. And that's why I didn't allow her to come back. And she was basically trying to force her way in the house, being erratic. And I was just looking out for the safety of my children, myself, my home.
And that led to her calling the police over to the house when she came back?
That happened several times where she would call, but the one incident that she spoke of was due to the fact that she showed up at my house with her boyfriend at the time, driving my vehicle, and I was angry, and but nothing ever happened. She came in the home and gave me my daughter, and I was upset. I'm like, what are you doing showing up here with this guy, at my home? Who wouldn't be upset about that? And she basically was up in my face, but nothing ever happened. I never touched her or anything like that. That was basically like a false accusation, and case was dismissed.
Okay, so moving on here, you have been supporting these children like a good father for these last 3 years since we've had the divorce. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Stepping up.
could you kind of briefly tell the court, and you can use that document, could you summarize what it cost you per month to maintain your house and take care of your children?
Correct. Yes, sir. So basically, I get paid bi-weekly, roughly 3,700, almost 3,800 a month. I mean, bi-weekly, I'm sorry. The amount total is, after I've spent which is food, gas, everything in reference to my children, is roughly $7,427. And my net direct deposit monthly is what I get paid is $7,584. So that, I mean, there's been cases of times where, I mean, we're barely making it. I mean, I have $100, $200 in the bank. So, and all this is, like I said, this goes to my children as far as food, clothing. And I've always, make no mistake, I've always, loved my children, taken care of them and supported them. And I'm the only stable home they've had these last 3 years prior to that as well. Due to the fact that Desiree was living in 3 or 4 different residences with 3 or 4 different individuals.
Dudes, yeah.
So I don't, like I said, I love my children. I do anything.
He brings stability.
And like I said, my whole world revolves around my children.
Oh, shout out to this father.
Your Honor, just to help the court a little, I'll summarize this. His total income per month, net income, is $7,584. And his total expenditures per month are $7,427.79. So based on those figures, he's just hitting his budget. It doesn't leave any extra money for anybody.
Okay, any further examination of Mr. Acevedo, Mr.?
Do you think there's anything you'd like to tell the court?
I'm good.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Coates, you're next.
Hopefully it's clear that this father is absolutely taking care of business. He's providing stability, a stable foundation for his children, while the mother is from house to house and now has gotten remarried, probably more focused on the relationship that she's in than providing stability for the children. I mean, she doesn't even want to get a job. He's not asking for it, but if he wanted primary custody, I think that he would have a case to do so. And maybe when she gets a job, she'd be paying him money. But now let's listen to a breakdown of their incomes.
Mr. Acevedo, at the time of your divorce, were you making the same amount, are you currently, or were you making more then?
No, I was making a little less. I mean, I get yearly COLA, cost of living bump, but that's about it.
What are you making yearly?
About 123,000.
And do you remember how much you were making back in 2021?
About 110 is when I had just got hired. Like a few, I think, year or two prior. 2019.
All right. And do you pay for anything for the children extra? Even though you guys are doing 50-50 and you're not paying child support, do you send mom or the children any money, when you can, or do you pay for their cell phones or anything extra?
No, ma'am, I'm struggling sometimes because I live basically paycheck to paycheck still, regardless of how much I make. I mean, like I said.
And are you by yourself, or have you remarried or a new girlfriend or anything?
No, ma'am, I'm still single, and like I said, my whole world was devoted to my children, and I just want them to have a good life and succeed.
Shout out to this father yet again. His priority is the children. Nothing more, nothing less.
And you're still providing the health and dental?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, no further questions.
Technically, Ms. Chester, again, like you are acting as your own lawyer, do you have any cross-examination? And Mr. Acevedo, it has to be questions only on the issues before the court. You can't call names, you can't get into an argument, you can't be accusatory. Do you have any specific questions? I'll let you ask them. If not, we'll move on.
I do not have any further questions.
Okay, Well, I don't know if Mr. Acevedo knows these, but you're the witness right now. Let me ask you generally. Do you know what she was making at the time of the divorce that was near you or nowhere near you?
Just what she stated, but I didn't really know because at the time we were separated, so she didn't really provide me that information.
Okay, well, you both didn't know, but if you had lawyers or other court
Your
people,
Honor,
they probably knew, even if you didn't, they didn't make you aware, but I find that hard to believe. but-
Your Honor,
Or you don't.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying at that time, Your Honor, that I might not have known, but I haven't reviewed the divorce.
Yeah, I know.
And I had,
Your
Ms.
Honor, based on
Yes.
her testimony, I calculated what she would have been making,
Yes, ma'am.
$46,930 a year.
Okay, does that sound right, Ms. Chesser? Back at the divorce?
When we did our taxes for that year, it came out to 32 is what it came out for that year. Overtime wasn't always guaranteed, and it just depended on if they allowed us to do work a Saturday. So that was just,
The
But it was
point
about
is, my point's gonna be that I can't relitigate the divorce and what they did in the divorce.
correct.
That's a done deal with that judge, with those lawyers, with the amicus attorney for the child, whatever. But if there was a discrepancy in your income at that time, and there's a clear discrepancy now, if you're telling me you make zero, but that's not the standard, it's what you should have been making, because he really doesn't have to pay for your decision to go to school and have zero income, you get that. And maybe your husband should be talking to you, or you all should be figuring out if you can afford to do this, or wait till the kids are 18. But, well, tell me this, how old are the kids? I don't even know that. Tell me that.
So I have one without Mr. Acevedo that's 17. And then I have, we have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old.
Okay, so the three with him and an older one that's still in the house and in school?
Yes, correct.
And do you get child support?
Head off to the military, so we're doing that.
You're doing what?
He just recently graduated, so he's not in school, but he's going through the process of his military career. So
Okay.
he do that.
Do you get, well, if you got child support, it'll end when he's 18, that's coming up soon, or do you get child support at all?
I don't get child support.
I won't ask why, I just want to know if you did or you didn't. Okay. So you got the three. So I might be the kind of judge that might have given you child support, but I don't do divorces, and I was nowhere near a divorce, and I can't judge another judge for whatever they did and whatever they was recommended. But what I have to see is what your situation was then and what it is now, and if there's changed circumstances. If the change was you had the child a little bit more, well, then that might have resulted in some minimal amount of support if it wasn't equal 50-50 anymore. But whatever happened wasn't much, and you're back to 50-50 is what I heard. So now the only difference I see is that you're not working at all and you were working then full time. But if you chose to stay out of the workforce to go to school, then you're underemployed. And I don't think the law would allow me to give you child support under these circumstances, as much as it might pain me to see him making 100 and you have zero, or that you had 46 at the time, 47, maybe even 32. But that's not I gotta be a hard ass. I gotta follow the law. I gotta do what I need to do.
Side note, I love the way that the judge is breaking this down, but it is hard to hear the degree of sympathy that this judge has. She's saying words like, well, unfortunately, I can't do this. Like, unfortunately what? Like, unfortunately, you can't take the man's hard-earned money from him? She's an adult, ma'am, making very adult decisions. And now her situation is a direct result of those very same decisions. There's no amount of crocodile tears necessary to have you be softer than what you would be with a man in this very same situation.
And if I don't, they're going to appeal me, go to another judge that might say I was wrong, because I've never given child support to somebody because they're making zero. So just because you're going to school, it's not the other parent's job to let you go off to do, he could want a master's if he doesn't already have a bachelor. Could do the same thing. And how fair would it be to tell you to pay him while he goes to school? It wouldn't. So I'm still because
say
I'm
that
not
on the insurance, the kids are all under Medicaid as well. So I know that it does state that he does pay for the insurance, but the kids, all of them are on Medicaid right now as well.
I don't know if the state knew that, or is that part of this case, Ms. Coates?
Yes, Your Honor, it's a secondary. Mr. Acevedo was ordered to carry it in the divorce. And we've seen this time and time again where you can have government insurance and then private.
Have it as a
To cover
secondary.
the second. Yeah, so he's the primary holder. He was primarily ordered that. Now he just stated he still has it, so
Oh, he still has it. I was thinking he hadn't had it, she had to go on government assistance, but no, that's not, this is a,
no, he
Secondary.
testified he still has it, Your Honor.
has it. So there is no change circumstances on that one either.
And unfortunately, in the divorce findings, all it says is that due to current possession schedule of the
Unfortunately.
parties, it's ordered neither shall pay child support at this time. There was no finding of their incomes and being offset. So if the divorce had that, then maybe, but unfortunately, Your Honor, that it says
Unfortunately,
based on their schedule.
they're trying to find a way to squeeze them.
Okay.
Do what's right.
I'm still talking to you, Ms. Chester. Do you have anything else you want to tell me that could persuade me in any way?
By the way, isn't it so crazy that she has another older child? So he elected to have a life, a family, when you were already a single mother and you still cheated on him? Exactly why I called her a self-home wrecker. Now let's watch how this wraps up.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, state have any follow-up for anybody, either, or recall, Ms. Chester or Mr. Acevedo?
No, Your Honor.
No further evidence or witnesses, Ms. Coates?
No, Your Honor.
Stay rest, okay. Mr. Mangine, any follow-up with witnesses or evidence?
No, Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Chester, I know you didn't have any further testimony, but did you have any witnesses to call or any other documents for me to consider?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we're down to closing argument. Let me start with the state, followed by Mr. Mangine and wrapped up by Ms. Chester in that order.
All right, Your Honor, at this time, we are asking for a non-suit on this matter. Unfortunately, there is no substantial change. You know, as I stated, there in the divorce decree, it was based on the finding that they both did 50-50, which she testified they still are doing that. And as Your Honor previously stated, instead of rejoining the workforce, she went to college full-time. And it wouldn't be fair if Mr. Acevedo decided to do that and then he get hit with full child support. I think in the best interest, both parents should be working. Yes, getting an education is important to further your life and then make it better for your children. But given the circumstances, Ms. Chester should at least been part-time and found something, even door dashing. So I don't think this case qualifies for a modification at the time, as unfortunate as it is.
And on the medical support issue, did you have any argument, or you're saying the same about that? No change circumstances?
Yes, Your Honor, there's no change in the circumstances based on his testimony that he's still providing that. I didn't hear any testimony from Ms. Chester that she doesn't have it, the cards from him or anything like that, but he was ordered to carry it. He stated he's still carrying it. And again, government insurance can still be a secondary when a parent is providing private. So there is no change in this case at all.
Okay, Mr. Mangine, you're closing, and make it brief, sir.
I'm going to keep it very brief, Your Honor. I completely concur with the state's closing argument. I don't think I need to elaborate on that.
Nope.
And so I won't waste the court's time in doing so.
Okay, Ms. Chester, it's your turn, and you can stay off camera if you want to. I don't care, but if you want to unmute yourself and make a closing argument, you have the right to do that. A summary of what you believe I should do and why. what your position is.
So, Your Honor, I know that the Attorney General did mention DoorDash or something as part-time. And with having a full schedule as well as doing night classes and anything else, without the child being, I can't leave them alone.
And my
It's
IRS
difficult
bill.
to do any type of part-time as far as DoorDash. We are going through, me and my daughter are both going through counseling as well, so that does make it difficult to be able to do anything else. I am trying to get her through something, and I am going through counseling for domestic abuse. So it is really hard to try to get or even find a part-time job. So I just wanted to say that.
Mind you, again, she has the kids for a week on, then a week off. What are you doing during the week off?
Okay, I've got to admit, I heard half of it. Some of it was garbled, and I don't know why the audio is worse with your video off, or you're too close or too far from the microphone that didn't make it super clear. But I heard the word abuse at the end, so I want you to repeat whatever you said about that situation. I'm not sure I heard or understood what you meant.
So I do know that when the Attorney General did mention DoorDash or any type of part-time job, it is kind of hard to do with finding this time with doing night classes and doing. I am going through counseling for my abuse,
Yeah.
and I am doing counseling with my daughter as well. So it's kind of hard to be able to maintain, even try to do anything with their schedule, as well as trying to get help from myself. So.
Okay, but okay, just so you know, the standard for non-disclosure is there has to be family violence or some threats or abuse or harm or threats of abuse or harm within the past 2 years. And I know it's been a little bit longer than that since the divorce, but your original testimony did make me think that you were actually under any kind of threat from Mr. Acevedo. Do you want to either tell me something different, or are you telling me all the stuff that happened was from the time before the divorce, or did I miss something?
By the way, it's disgusting how she's still throwing out this idea that she's getting counseling for previous domestic violence from the husband. You could think of this as sort of like a Hail Mary at the end to try to save face in some degree or manner to get the court to sway what the opinion currently is.
No, you are correct. All the abuse was while we were together. So it was before it's not the 2 years. So
it's the same thing. Ms. Chester, if you're trying to relitigate what the divorce court didn't do or did do or whatever, I can't do that. If all that stuff happened before the divorce, this is too late for me to try to patch that up. There's nothing since the divorce. The law doesn't allow me to protect you because you don't need protecting if nothing's happened. I don't know if you get that or not. You may find some lingering harm. Well, I'm glad you're getting counseling, but it's not a current or ongoing abuse or threat of abuse that I'm seeing here at all, and I think you've admitted. Okay. Anything else, Ms. Coates?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Manji? You're on mute, Mr. Manji. You're muted. Oh, no.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I have nothing further.
Okay. Yeah, it really pains me, Ms. Chester. Just, yeah, I can see from your viewpoint how it's not fair, but the deal was you had jobs and you were both supporting your children, and that's why the 50-50 seemed to be ideal at the time. I'm sure Mr. Acevedo was fiercely fighting for primary so that you could pay him child support if he had had the children up to that point, or part of the separation before the divorce. But that didn't happen either. So nobody got everything they wanted, but you can't when a household separates. You can't split the kids in half. You can't have them 100%, unless the other parent really isn't there or gone or dies, or you terminate him, but that just doesn't happen. So you kind of both got the best of both worlds without getting shafted or getting a lot less if one of you had lost. But the deal was you were supporting the children on your dollar, or you were required to do that, and you're still required to do that. I wish the law would be clearer on that, or when or if we should allow parents to go get degrees so that they could have better incomes for the rest of the children's lives, or their lives really, because the children are older and they're gonna, one of them might emancipate before you finish. But that's not the way it's set up. And if I'm following the law, I can't give you child support because you're no longer working the way you're supposed to be working when the deal was struck that you get the children part-time every other week. So having what I've heard, I'm going to deny. You can't non-suit. It's too late. We had a trial code, so I'm going to dismiss the request or deny the request for modification.
There it is.
Okay, any other questions in session?
No, Your Honor, that's it.
Then good luck to you, ma'am. And good luck to all of you and the children. They need you both.
So happy how this one turned out. It should never be as a result of losing your job to sue your ex-husband for more child support. You just go get another job. But yeah, I think it's messed up here that it seems as though these two on the left were looking for any and every type of loophole in order to award her something else for her bad decisions in life. Absolutely ridiculous. But again, the husband won out. Shout out to the father in this situation. Not only was this guy awarded 50-50 custody, but then no child support. And then when she files additional motions to receive child support because she want that paycheck, the lawyer steps in like, nah, we not having that. There is nothing better than a greedy gold digger getting told, no, sorry, ma'am, you can't dig on this gold anymore. Go get a job. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Me, go to tutorialsandreviews@gmail.com. Guys, leave me your comments down below. I know this one was a long one, but shout out to those that are still here with me right now. Guys, last but not least, my men's self-development community. Link to it down in the description box right down here. Click in, beam up. We have so many resources up there available for you to aid you on your journey to securing a fulfilling life. And in 2025, we have a strict focus on financial wealth building. Click down, beam up, and I will see you soon. Until next time, YouTube.